So it is a rather strange thing, is it not, then, for the chief of the United Nations, Secretary-General António Guterres, who has form, it must be said, for his largely sort of hysterical musings on the issues of climate change. But he said yesterday, I mean, utterly bizarre. He said the world's fossil fuel industries should be banned from advertising to help save the world from climate change. He said that is the only correct reaction to that, Philip Ingram. Coal, oil and gas corporations, boo, hiss. He said they are the godfathers of climate chaos. They had distorted the truth, deceived the public for decades, and just as tobacco advertising was banned because of the threat to health, the same should now apply to fossil fuels. His remarks were described as the most damning condemnation yet of the industries responsible for the bulk of global warming. I mean, what a load of absolute, hysterical lunacy. Frankly, if a 13-year-old girl told me that, I'd send her to a room for being an idiot and tell her to go and read something. But this man's going to a position of power as Secretary-General of the United Nations. Let's talk about this with Edmund Gemmell. He's leader of the Climate Party and joins us right now. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Julia.
Look, even you, and I know you're also under this complete illusion that we're in a climate crisis and a climate catastrophe, which, by the way, we're not, because the facts are on my side on this one. Even if you think that, you, unlike António Guterres, must understand that we still need fossil fuels and that the oil and gas and coal companies are actually those that are basically fueling our entire ability to live the life we live. They were involved in us being able to build this studio, to broadcast from here, the car that people might drive today, the heating, the light, literally every single thing in our country and our world relies on fossil fuel industry, including, by the way, the making of wind turbines for clean energy. Is António Guterres, do you agree that he's talking absolute bunkum?
Oh, Julia, you always start with about 85 different things I want to answer immediately, and I can't answer them all in the amount of time you give me straight away afterwards. No, of course he isn't. Look, if we in this country are restricting advertising, it's not just tobacco, but we do it for infant formula, we do it for alcohol, obviously we do it for weapons, but we do it for all sorts of unhealthy products and medicines. If we're actually restricting things like that, why aren't we restricting fossil fuel advertising when all of the science, and you're always wrong on your statistics. You and I should have a statistics meetup one day. Go through where you get your statistics from and compare them to where I get mine from and see who's got a bigger
IPCC reports, if you read the scientific reports, they don't think there's a crisis or a catastrophe.
Rubbish, Julia. You always say that, but that's absolutely
rubbish. I always say that because it's true.
The report brought out at COP26 confirmed that the carbon budget for staying under 1.5 degrees actually runs out in 2028. You've just heard,
and that's going to be a catastrophe. Doesn't make it a catastrophe or a crisis. But anyway, Edmund, this is the thing. So we don't allow the advertising of tobacco and alcohol to under 18s and things like that. And that's understandable because those are products that are known to be harmful or should not be, are illegal to be sold to people under a certain age. But everybody needs fossil fuels. Even if you, with the best will in the world, you want to hit net zero targets by 2050. If you want to hit them let's just pluck another date out of that, 2040, you're still going to need fossil fuels. If you have any understanding of this at all, and I'm of the view that no one who is a climate catastrophist has any understanding of this, 80% of our energy needs are still currently fossil fuels. You are not going to change that even in the next 30 years. So why would you ban the advertising of things that we need?
Right. Let's correct something on energy needs, what we're producing in that first, and then we'll go back onto the advertising thing. Look, as we are at the moment, if you look out the window, we're probably using about 28 gigawatts of power at the moment. About 18 to 20 of that is coming from solar and wind as we talk. Okay, so the majority is coming from that. Over the last 20 years, we haven't invested in tide or wave. Tide on its own could be producing 20 gigawatts. If only we had done that, we would now be having potentially 38 gigawatts being produced now, and we'd be selling it. It'd be an export for Britain rather than us at the moment suffering from high gas prices
Edmund,
and
sweetheart,
from other countries.
You're talking about the production of electricity. Electricity is 20% of our energy needs.
Well, 20 to 40%, depending on how you look at it, Julia. But yes, okay.
Around 20% of our energy needs. What are you going to do for the other 80%?
Well, there are vast ways of substituting things. You also mentioned cement and concrete manufacture in the start of your introduction.
Steel, yeah.
Look, there are already steel plants setting up all over Europe. A particularly good one in HS H2 steel in Sweden, which are going to produce their, on steel, I went on steel, which are going to produce their steel at, 95% decarbonisation. So they're going to actually produce it. And in
are they producing steel? Are they producing steel, or are they reconstituting steel? Because actually, we know in the plant in Port Talbot, you can't actually make steel without using fossil fuels.
Julia, this is going to be something you and I are going to agree on.
No,
it's
sorry
nuts
for the
in
facts.
Port Talbot. So here we go. Let's see if we can agree on this one. It would be great. It's nuts in Port Talbot. What we're doing, we're getting rid of our virgin steel production and we're putting in a recycling plant.
Yeah, exactly.
That is not what we're talking about at H2 Steel in Sweden. It is virgin steel, 95% decarbonised. It'll be 97.5 by 2030. Okay. And they're going to produce the same quantities when they go into production in 2025 as Port Talbot does.
And what did they use to build the factory?
Well, they're clearly at current, when you don't have decarbonised steel, then you're obviously going to have to use steel
and concrete and everything else.
The next factory, of course, the extension.
But hold on a minute. How do we make the wind turbines and the solar panels? Oh, they're all made in China. Oh, what fuel do they use? Oh, they use fossil fuels.
Absolutely. So why is China actually building a coal-fired power station every week or whatever it is?
I wonder why.
It's doing it so it can make renewables and ship them over to Britain. So why aren't we
ship them over on ships run on oil, another fossil fuel?
Absolutely. Yeah. So let's stop.
It's amazing how much it comes up.
Julia, I love it. We agree. Let's do it here instead. Let's innovate onto all these new stages.
We're going to build all these things without using fossil fuels.
One second. Not just wind turbines and solar panels, but let's innovate across the whole spectrum of what can be done, and let's get Britain doing it before anybody else.
Edmund, we can't afford to build things here because our energy prices are so high, because people like you and many others are pushing this green energy. Oh, it's going to be so cheap. Even though it's not cheap, it's more expensive. You need to have backups, and you can only use it for electricity, and you can't use it for the other 80% of our energy needs.
No. The real reason for that is because actually we've mullered our industrial capacity since the 1970s. And you and I agree on that.
I'll agree on that.
That's not just the case of gas prices today. That's a concerted effort to outsource everything we're doing in this country, and that's even before the net zero was brought
even before the net zero madness started. But it's got a lot worse because you can't afford the energy, which is why industry is going back to America, because energy prices haven't been going sky high in America.
Julia, you and I agree on so much. It always amazes me when we do this. If only we could
amazes me you're so wrong about so much then.
With these industries that are going over to America, and they're not just going to America, but there are a number of our innovative new technology industries that are moving to America to get the subsidies from the Inflation Reduction Act, which is advancing clean tech in America, but which is also a protectionist policy.
No, it's not just because of that. It's because their energy prices haven't gone sky high as they've done in Europe, because the US is invested in oil and gas production, and they're now one of the biggest, I think, net exporter of fossil fuels. And they've been fracking all the things that you're disapproving of. That is the main reason why energy prices are not sky high.
Right now, it's
yes,
it is. $369 billion investment by America, which is drawing companies more around the world to relocate.
Since then, Edmund, finally, I've literally got 10 seconds. Finally, advertising. You agree with António Guterres? Ban advertising for fossil fuels.
Restrict it immediately. If you're going to have any other restrictions, it's got to be of great benefit to society why you don't restrict it.
It's madness. Edmund, such a pleasure to talk to you as always. Edmund Gebel from the Climate Party.